Good morning, everyone. So it's a great honor for me to be here. I don't actually remember exactly which classrooms I sat in when I was here, but I'm almost sure that this was one of them. So you can imagine, 50 years back, I was sitting on the other side of this classroom, just like all of you. And looking back, it's almost surreal that I'm able to stand here today. There was absolutely no way I would have imagined when I was on the other side that I will ever stand here. Interestingly enough, Dr. Sija actually is a student of one of my very, very close friends. Actually, she could have found me almost within a minute if she had reached out to her own teacher, Mr. Ramanand. He was a teacher at SD College, Alapi, where I studied. We both studied in 70s. So for me, this is a great privilege, a great honor, and a great pleasure to be here today to speak to all of you. Now, I remember coming here in 1972. Even in 72, actually not even in 72, in 72, Maharajas was a very elite college. It was one of the best colleges in Kerala, basically next to University College in Trivandrum. And I had studied in Alapi, SD College. Schooling was also in Alapi. Um, and it was actually a very difficult transition for me. This was an elite college. The best students used to come here. Uh, I had um, I had to face the level of competition which I had not faced before. Most people spoke fluent English. In fact, I was in the new hostel. At that time, it was called the new hostel, the one in the ground. And my classmates were all fluent in English. I was not fluent in English. I came a bit late in the first year. I did not join in the beginning. I was a transfer student. I had, interestingly enough, I had actually taken second group in my pre-degree. So basically, switching to physics itself was a big change. Generally, people who take second group go for biology or medicine, and I wanted to shift to physics, so I actually shifted to physics after second group, which is very, very rare in those days. And then I moved to Maharajas. So it was a very difficult transition for me. It took me a while to settle down. Interestingly enough, in my third year, I was the mess secretary of the new hostel. So I was thinking back and realizing that probably that was the first leadership development training I got, being the mess secretary. And I left Maharajas in 75, did my master's in SN College, Koilon, then took up a job with Bombay Electric Supply and Transport in Mumbai, a government job which is actually very settled. A government job those days are very aspirational and very settled. I had a good job. I had a home in Mumbai, which is very, very rare. I had a BSc gave me a home to live in, quarters, in almost within 2 months. And fairly good salary, home, full transportation in Mumbai, and I was settling down. I got married. And then I shifted out of DST and joined PCS, which is a private organization. So basically, I left the security and safety of a government job, went into the private sector, and about a year later, Infosys got started. Again, I changed my job in 1981, left my good job at a private organization and took up an entrepreneurial job and started my entrepreneurial journey. And of course, Infosys journey was very long. I was with Infosys for almost 35 years, retired in 2014. I had seen enough ups and downs in uh, in my Infosys journey, and first 20 years was great struggle. See, all of you hear about this great story about Infosys. Infosys is the poster child of India. It is the entrepreneurial journey, dream journey, but it was not a dream journey in the first 15 years. There was no money. India was not well known. If I go out of India, people would ask me, you come from the country where cows are on the road. That was what India was known for. Today it is very different. So there were enough ups and downs in my Infosys journey. So if I look back at my life from here to here, so from this classroom to this classroom, one thing which comes to my mind is the courage which you need to show in these journeys. See, the ability to explore, the ability to inquire, the ability to take the paths which has not been taken before, the ability to be open-minded, the ability to accept different cultures, the ability to accept different ideas, the ability to disagree with people, and to take these kinds of chances and to say yes to every opportunity. Not every opportunity, yes to opportunities come your way, which comes to your way. I think that takes a lot of courage. So one thing which I want to leave with you all is about being courageous, right? Um, my journey from here to here is a lot of it is because of the um, risks I took, because of the courage I showed. Then um by the time I got into Bombay Electric Supply and Transport, took up my first job. So I wouldn't claim that I was a great student. I don't think I was a great student. My schooling was in LFP. I had met some great teachers. There is no doubt. I had a wonderful teacher in my school who encouraged me. I had wonderful teachers in SD college who really, really allowed me to explore and inquire, debate with them, ask questions, which was all very rare at that point in time. I also had some great teachers here and in SN College, Koilar. But I wouldn't consider, I used to sit in the back bench, so you can imagine. So none of you are smiling. So, so I used to sit in the back bench. So you can imagine, I wouldn't claim that I was a great student. I had these great teachers. To a lot of extent, they made my life. They really gave me the foundation to, that is the reason I'm standing here today. But by the time I got into my employment in BSD, and by the way, I met my wife here. So she used to live in the ladies' hostel, and being the mess secretary, I used to come here to the ladies' hostel. I was not hanging around. I used to come here for work, and I met her there in the ladies' hostel, and we got married in 79. So by the time I got employed and I got married, I had somehow I had created a sense of purpose in my life, a sense of commitment to what I was doing. So I was very, very hardworking during my BST days. Remember, BST was a government organization. It is not an organization which demands you to work very hard. Those days. Today maybe it is different. When you go to private organizations, they demand that you work very hard. 70-hour working days are very common in the private organization where I live. So when I was Bombay Electric Supply and Transport, it was not very demanding. It was not, I could have been more relaxed, more less committed, but I was very committed. I was very hardworking, very focused, very disciplined. Every transaction I used to think of as a contract. So if I say I will be somewhere at 9 o'clock, I will be there at 9 o'clock. If I say I will deliver something, I used to deliver it on time. So in Infosys, for example, I am considered as the most disciplined person. So by the time I started my employment, that time I'm being very honest, it's not something I was born with. By the time I started my employment, actually, and by the time I got married, I had this sense of purpose, I had this sense of commitment, um, and I started working very hard, being very disciplined, being very focused, being very good at time management. Um, as I said, and it took a lot of sacrifices. A lot of sacrifices during my work days to get here. So the second thing I wanted to mention to you was the need for commitment. If you want to excel in whatever you do, whether it is studies, whether it is working, whether it is being a leader, whether it is being a manager, whether it is being a teacher, I think a very high level of commitment is required. And that is that is another reason why I'm standing here today. The third point I wanted to make was about learning itself. So I did my master's in SN College and then went to work for Bombay Electric Supply and Transport. Suddenly, whatever I had learned, I had a master's in physics. Whatever I had learned was completely not relevant to my new job. I became a software engineer, which all of you are familiar with. Those days, that was not a term, it was called programmer. Those days, it was called programmer in 70s. And my father used to think that I used to write travel programs. That means the tour programs for the managers, right? That is what my parents used to think. Anyway, I became a programmer and completely shifted my career from being a physics to being a software engineer. And I soon realized that I have no skills. I understand programming a bit, but I don't understand the science behind it. I don't understand the deep technical matters behind software engineering. So I decided to learn again. So for 10 more years, between 79 to 89, while I was working, I went to school. First 2 3 years, I went to TIFR. I was a student of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. I went there to learn computer science. Then I was in US. I was staying in Boston while working for many years. So then I went to took a master's in computer science from Boston University. So 10 more years after my master's, I went to school, literally every single day. And while working, while married, and in between, I think my daughter was born. So the point I wanted to make was that any one of us who want to be successful, you or me, I think we need to have a plan for what I call lifelong learning. Right, whatever skills you acquire in this room is obsolete by the time you are out of this room. So you need to have an approach towards learning which is absolutely lifelong. Even at Infosys, for example, I was there for 35 years. I had 11 jobs. Right, I started as a project manager. Then I was at the client side being an account manager. Then I was a program manager. Then I was in sales. Then I was a delivery head. Then I was a business head. Then I was a chief operating officer. Then I was the CEO. So I don't know whether you counted 11, but there are 11 jobs. That means every 5 years, I changed my job. Which means every 5 years, I had to completely relearn all the skills. So I not only have to give up my skills, actually, learning new skills is easier than giving up new skills. You have to let go of many things which you learned in the past. You have to learn new things. And then you have to try and excel in those skills. So the third point I wanted to make was about capability. First was about courage, then about commitment, then about capability. I think building capability, building skill, having a lifelong learning approach is extremely important in life. And that is the third reason I'm standing here today after 50 years. And the last point is probably the most difficult point. Because you can show courage, you can be committed, you can build capability, but the last point is something in my mind probably the most difficult, is to build a character. So in my case, I come from a very middle class family. My parents were both employed, they were both in government service. I was the only child. So in that sense, I was a bit pampered, because being only children, you always get pampered. But I think the basic basis of my character was built at home. That I lost them many years back. I lost both of them when I was 30 years old, both my father and mother. But I remember them as being very kind, compassionate human beings. They did not have the ability to do many things which I do today. They were not, they were not, they didn't have the kind of wealth I have. They did not have the kind of facilities which I have today. But I still remember being simple human beings, compassionate. And we used to live in an area which was very multicultural. In Alleppey, we used to live in an area which was very multicultural. So that allowed me to be open to different cultures. And my parents actually, I think, showed the way of building a good character. But then, of course, my teachers, right? My teachers also were a big part of building my character. So actually, going to college, going to school is not only about learning, it's also about building the foundation of your character. And more importantly, my friends. The friend I talked about, Ramanand, we have been friends for 50 years. I have a few other friends in Alleppey who have been with me from the school days. They in many ways keep me grounded. Because when I meet them, we are still old friends. I am no more Shibu. I am not the CEO, ex-CEO of Infosys. I am not the co-founder of Infosys. For them, I am just pure simple Shibu. And that keeps me grounded. So it's very, very important to have good friends who will keep you grounded, keep you always reminding where your roots are. So, over a period of time, and I also had the privilege of meeting some great role models. Infosys had some great people working with me, so they were also great influence. Mr. Murthy, Chris Gopalakrishnan, Dinesh, Mohandas Pai. Each one of them were giants in their own space, their own areas, and I could easily learn from them. So they all helped me develop my character over a period of time. So it was more of a self-discovery after I became an adult. Right? After you become an adult, you have to build your character. So it was more of a self-discovery after I became an adult. So I learned to be fair. I learned to be transparent. I learned to be honest and trustworthy. I learned to be non-hierarchical. I learned to accept different cultures. I have great respect for my teachers and elders. Actually, I find it hard to sit in front of them because I still consider them as teachers. So I have great respect for my teachers and elders. So building character is a journey. I don't think I will complete it. Right? It is still a journey. Every one of them is a journey, but I could say I was courageous, I was committed, I have built enough capabilities, but building my character is still a journey. I still make mistakes. I still get angry with people. I can still get irritated with my children. So all that happens, but it is still a journey. It is still, it's always a journey. So the last point I wanted to make was about creating a character, building a character. And that is something which you start at home, but when you finish, uh, uh, you know, when you complete your life. And lastly, if you look at my life, one could easily say that it is all about luck. Right? I was on the other side in this room, in the back bench, not being a great student. I was a good student, but not a great one. Um, so one could say that my journey was all about luck, and which is all true. It was all about luck. I could have taken simple right turn instead of a left turn, and I won't be standing here. But I also believe that I did invite luck to my life by doing all the things which I talked about. I believe that you can be lucky and you can invite luck through your actions and thoughts, being courageous, being committed, building capability, building character, respecting elders and teachers, caring for your parents, and a concern for society and environment. And finally, having a sense of fairness. I clearly believe that we will be lucky and we can invite luck. So let me conclude by saying be courageous, show commitment, build capability, and build character. Luck will definitely favor you. I wish you all the best and thank you. Because you are all students, I don't mind taking one or two questions because probably we have 5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes left. So actually my answer to that is it's not about quantity of time, it's about quality of time. So the struggle which I even have today, for example, I spend time with my children and my family, but we get very distracted. Half the time on the cell phone, half the time looking at WhatsApp, half the time doing something else. So you're not present. Right? Hard work is also about being present in that moment. So in my case, when I work, I'm very present in work. When I spend time with my family, I'm very present with my family. So even what you asked about being, spending time with your friends and spending time with your family is hard work. It's not easy to do. Two more sentences on that because I told Dr. Srija that if you had just asked Ramanand, my friend, he would have found me within 3 seconds. Remember, we were classmates in 70. You are in 2024. 54 years have passed. Keeping that friendship was very hard work. And I have lived 20, 25 years outside India. So doing anything is hard work. You just have to make your choice which hard work you want to put in.